Huge day. Glad to be in studio. I feel like it's been forever since I've set foot in these studios, and thrilled to be looking back at you guys and squeezing in some round ball talk in a time where we don't normally get hoops talk, but there was an announcement today. I'm excited to, be hearing from basically everybody I know, and now we can talk about it, the three of us, for a little bit.
Well, I know I'm going to read this email I got, okay? I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a very nice email from the Phoenix Suns, but I'm going to read this one part, okay? It says, Arizona Sports 98.7 returns as the Suns' flagship radio station, continuing a long-standing relationship that began in 1968. Veteran announcer Jon Bloom enters his first season as the new full-time radio voice of the Suns following the retirement of Suns Ring of Honor member Al McCoy last season.
Yes!
Jon Bloom. That's got to feel good, man.
It sounds great coming out of you, coming out of any human. I would listen to anything say what you just said because of a few things. The main thing is that truly, and anybody who knows me knows this, this is a dream job.
Yes.
I now have my dream job. Like, I can say that. I haven't ever been able to say that in my life. I haven't. Like, since I was 13. That dream has been consistent. So to get there, obviously that's the headline for me, but it's sharing this with people that I've been working with and that I've been living with and that I've been, hanging out with and just playing golf with. Everybody that knows me knows that I've been just kind of on the path to try to get to this spot. Now, first and foremost, Al McCoy. Let's just hats off to the man who has not only taught me more than any other broadcaster, but also helped me get there, and by showing me and by being the mentor.
Such a class act.
And a true Hall of Famer in the sense of the word, right? So thank goodness I was able to learn from a guy like that, and I can't skip past that. Now, for those of you wondering if I'm going to be using Shazam and other things that Al uses, the answer to that is a clear no. He did him.
Johnny, if you use Shazam, I would say, John, can I talk to you?
You'll be back on the show whether you want to.
I am glad.
I'd be like,
please.
As a friend, can I talk to you for a minute over here? Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, maybe it's not retired, Shazam, because maybe they can use it in the arena, and I'm not making that decision.
Okay.
They want to do that, that's great.
I see what you're
Maybe
saying.
it'll carry on. And, of course, we look forward to seeing Al, and I just wanted to thank him, too, as I have in person. But thanks to all the listeners and everybody for supporting me, too, along these ways, because it's been my relationship with you. Taking your phone calls. Luke knows this as well as anybody. So does Wolf, because before I was doing Suns gigs, I was doing Cardinals post-game shows, and Wolf was tossing it to me to take the phone call. So I feel like I've really established that bond. I'm sure you do too, Luke.
Oh, yeah.
You feel like you've got a connection that's above and beyond just being a fan of a team. Now that we get to actually be the conduit, if you will, on the radio to the fans. I've always loved that role. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss taking those calls for sure. I'll be listening every time I'm driving home after the games, but I could not be more fired up to go describe the action of this basketball team that they just so happen to have assembled a pretty darn good looking team on paper.
Johnny, what are you doing? Honestly, right now, after the money's big. Okay, okay, the money's good. Let's put it that way. So is the dream. That's really good too. Logistically, if there's somebody driving around the basin right now, they want to know, what is it like to be a play-by-play guy? What's the best part about being the voice, a play-by-play guy for an NBA franchise, minus the money and minus the dream?
Yeah, those and by the way, the dream is there, but the money to me is not even in the top 10 of things for me that drove me to do this.
That's huge.
Because, I was 11 when I figured it out, and money, I didn't really know what money meant at 11. I knew what sports meant to me, and I knew that I didn't have the ability to be able to play sports for a living. How could I possibly, built the way I was built, stay around sports for a living? Because I knew that it meant that much to me, right?
Yes.
And so
that's
what drove me to be at the action. And so for me, the best thing about doing play-by-play is I'm always at the action. I'm at the game.
Right there.
I'm getting to paint the picture. and describe the action in a way that I feel like I've trained my whole life because, again, going back to that little kid, I would go to sleep to the transistor radio or the clock radio next to my head every night. And whether it was a ball game, and I grew up in the Bay Area, for those who don't know, just south of San Francisco my entire youth, so whether it was a Giants game or most of it was Cal, unfortunately, because both my parents went there, so I knew how to be a loser very early in life. Oh, man. And I'm, that's a whole different topic for another day, but I am in the process of disengaging as a Cal fan.
Really?
I've realized it's not healthy for me.
You're not in on the ACC move?
It's so massive. And you know this because you know like what it did to me whenever they won. I figured out that, as a kid, I really wanted Cal to win because it made my dad so happy. And then everybody else in the house was so happy. And life was so much better. I just realized this. I'm like, now as a grown man, I don't need to do this anymore.
Put yourself through it.
Yeah. Right? I'm making everybody around me miserable. It's the opposite. So I learned
Bloom
that.
has had an epiphany.
Yes.
I might need to talk to you again at the end of this ASU football season. Let's see how it goes. Okay.
Well, but you went there, though. That's your alma mater. See, I have Syracuse as an alma mater. I'm still a fired-up Syracuse fan. I'm never going to remove that from me, but I think I can remove the Golden Bear, at least a good portion of it, the obnoxious portion of it.
I want to ask you this while we have you, just because the Board of Governors approved the tougher rest rule in the NBA today. Mm-hmm. And I hope they can pull this off because I think it's something that's holding the league back, and the league's doing just fine, but it's still something that's holding them back. I don't know how they're going to be able to do it, but what do you think?
I think that fines are fines, and they do make an impact, but I don't think they necessarily fix problems. There was a time where we all were thrilled that they were going to start fining guys for flopping. Do we feel like they've done a lot of that? I didn't feel like they did, and I feel like they could have done more to stop flopping, right? And maybe they will now. They are still changing those rules from a standpoint of people just...
That's good news, too. I'm just a little quick
agree, yeah.
there.
It's just such a better product when people aren't hunting for fouls.
Stop it.
Let's try to make a basket.
Don't turn basketball into soccer.
Right.
Don't do it.
Yeah, because in soccer, the scoring is so minimal that you have to position and maneuver and stuff like that, and manipulate is the word that comes to mind for me. If we can limit the manipulation of the refs, the game would be so much better. So hopefully we get there. As far as the resting is concerned, I do think this will help. Now, there's a lot of teams where it's not going to matter. You don't have multiple stars on some teams. We happen to have multiple stars here, so I think there's going to be a microscope on how Frank Vogel operates and how they work their roster throughout this season. The good news is I feel like, Beal and Booker at least are not guys in the past that have rested intentionally.
Right.
Kevin Durant, he might get some games off, and I think that's going to work out throughout the course of the season.
So, Johnny, let me ask you this quickly right now. I know that Luke is getting ready to take us to break because that's what drivers do right now.
Especially when they're driving with Wolf and he grabs the wheel and takes you off the road.
Let me grab the wheel here and say, you got time to stick around for another beautiful part of the program here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's just totally riff on this.
Let's go.
And then we get to hear In Bloom.
More.
We get to hear in a second.
That's the only reason
Another one, In Bloom, coming back.
Wolf's going to toss you after the first 30 seconds. He just wants to hear Nirvana again. All right. Wolf made Jon Bloom stick around for an extra. The guy's got to start training for his new play-by-play job. I don't know. Do you run up and down Camelback Mountain to get ready for this, or what?
It's mainly just golf.
Okay.
Yeah, is that okay?
You've been doing that for a while, then I guess you're ready.
I'm really trained.
Well, Wolf,
by the way, I am going to learn how to play that song now. I'm going to go home. I'm going to plug the electric guitar in, and I'm going to learn how to play In Bloom.
You don't know.
I've never learned how to play In Bloom.
All right, go on.
But I'm going to learn to play In Bloom now.
I just said this song. I love this. This is, yes, he likes to sing along.
Wolf would like to be the singer in your new band, but he was practicing A Whole New World earlier, so I don't know if you want him in your band.
No.
I do want him in my band. Can you play the drums, Wolf?
No, I couldn't.
My wife wants me to get rid of the drum set in the garage that nobody's playing. I need someone to play the drums.
Honestly, if there was one thing I could do, it'd be play the guitar. If somebody could just, here it comes. You've got one wish that'll come true. Play the guitar. Oh man, that would be pretty cool.
Have you
just
seen
sitting in the garage riffing?
Have you seen the Jack Harlow commercial? It wasn't during the Super Bowl where he's playing the triangle and that he makes his whole career that.
No.
That could be you. It's a Doritos commercial. That could be you.
I'm a very good triangle player.
Yeah. See, we got a triangle player and a guitarist. So I don't know what else you need, Bloom. You guys could just travel like that. Devin Booker since we're talking basketball and you're here, did you see his response to Kyle Kuzma on Twitter? Kyle Kuzma's talking about how Team USA needs, a player to go in there and basically be a role player and do the dirty things. And Booker, as he typically does, responds with 3 words. This time it was, "I'll do it." And Wolf and I were talking earlier. He has done it already. Why wouldn't they have him do it again?
He can do it, and not only can he do it, he'll do it at a level that nobody else will. And we all can't wait to see that. And in some ways, that's exciting that you've got a guy that, maybe the rest of the country's realizing now that they want to see it too. They want to see him representing the Stars and Stripes, but I'm more focused on him and that sunburst right now.
Yeah.
I want the United States to thrive, and I know it was frustrating that they didn't get the job done. I was just excited, showing my family the other day what the play Mikal Bridges made, missing the free throw and hitting that 3 in the corner. I was sick. But, there were great highlights, and certainly guys definitely made impressions, and that's what those FIBA tournaments can do. And it gives us some basketball in a time of year where you've got WNBA, and then you get a little bit of men's basketball as well. But now it's about another few weeks, and then we're going to see these guys starting to play together, get the time that they need to gel together. Can you tell how excited I am about this basketball team?
This is why you have this job, because you're so genuinely excited all the time.
I'm pumped for it.
Here's the one thing about it, I'll do it. Devin Booker has accomplished an awful lot right now. He's considered to be one of the best players in the association right now. I'll do it. Why didn't he say, I did it? Why didn't he say that? Because he's not a guy that needs confirmation. He's not a guy that is worried about the past. He's a guy that's worried about the now and the future. And I'll do it. Present tense. That's what I love about Devin Booker. That's who I imagine him to be. You're around him all the time. You see him all the time. I see him as an accountable, humble, hyper-competitive, super talented, two-way player. That's how I see him. He's one of my favorite players, if not the favorite player in all of sports.
Same.
Because of his demeanor and how he competes. I get the idea that he's everything I think he is.
He is. And then some, Wolf. I mean, it's crazy because when you start talking about him as a player, you can rave and rave and rave about all the tools he's got in his bag. And maybe the most that you rave about Devin Booker is how hard he's worked to improve every single year. Even when you think he's hit a ceiling, he just pushes right through that, and he's getting better every day. He's one of those guys. But when I talk to people who don't know much about Book, the thing I say more than anything is what I've learned about him is he's a better person than he is a hooper.
Wow.
And that is not hyperbole, and that is legit. And look at the way he's carried himself with this entire city on his shoulders, basically, with the entire Phoenix Suns fan base putting their hope in this man to help lead them to a championship, to help do it in whatever way he could from when he was in the ashes of a team that couldn't put a W together to save their lives to now being a team that everybody's looking at as a front runner and a contender, and he's the reason why. You ask everybody to a man, why are they there right now? Devin Booker is why. Now, don't take credit away from everybody else that has a piece of this. But I think that would be the common answer, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. And I've made this point on the show before, but to me, and I'm guessing it's this way for a lot of fans, he makes it so much easier to invest in this team because, like, look, Kevin Durant's awesome, Bradley Beal's awesome, these guys they've brought in. But because Booker was here through the worst times and stuck it out, and so, like, if you're a Suns fan, you've kind of grown up with Devin Booker in this era. It's like, yeah, I want him to win a title because the city's never got that title, and this is a Suns town. And you'd like to see, everybody's got their own individual favorite players, but specifically for Booker, because he could have left, and he never even mentioned it. And he was like, no, I'm going to stick here, and guys are going to come to me. And he called a shot, and it sounded crazy when he said it, Bloomer, and it happened.
Yeah.
Like, if you allowed yourself to take a step back and think about how crazy this season could be, that's about to start here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's hard to really, not get all riled up with it and look at just the team that they've assembled and think about the success they could have. But I'm just trying to take it one step at a time. The most recent thing I got fired up about was seeing Drizzy on stage saying he's going to move to the Valley because he wants to watch the Suns play. So we're going to have Drake courtside now. For those of you who don't know, Drake apparently has just gotten tighter and tighter with both Book and KD. So he's bringing them out on stage, or he's walking out to the stage with with him like a boxer when he's got a entourage. They're in that entourage, so maybe now we're going to have even more of a spotlight.
Are you getting those shoes too, by the way?
The orange ones are
sick.
dope. I'm there it is.
Wet like I'm booked.
Yeah, we need those orange books. That's definitely the next purchase. Don't tell my family.
Okay. All right. No, I'm sure
Yeah,
they're
too many shoes. I've been buying too many shoes.
Yeah, but
Wolf.
that's different.
Johnny, I know there's so many different ways you could go on this and so many different things you could say right now, but I have to ask you, when you watch this team come together and you watch this team actually practice and you watch this team go out and play their preseason games and you watch them actually in game number 1 of the regular season, is there anything you're looking for specifically?
Yes. What I'm going to look for is the organization on offense because, again, we're going out there without that prototypical point guard. And that's the position I've admired since I learned what the round ball was, right? It was the point guard spot. So if you don't have a guy that has been typically looked at as the floor general or the guy who organizes the offense, that's what I'm going to be watching. Is Brad Beal really the guy that's going to do it? And maybe he will be a prototypical point guard. I certainly believe he's got the skill set to do it. It just isn't something he's done in the league for a full season of being the starting point guard. But let's see how that comes together. And then obviously the rotations, right? Because we were all so focused on how the rotations were coming, in the playoffs and how they weren't able to really solidify it. And that led to, the exit. But now it's going to be about you have all this talent. Who is playing when and with whom, and that is going to be something we'll watch, I'm sure, in preseason.
Bloomer, we're up against it, so maybe it isn't fair to do this, but I'm going to anyway. Now that you're in this position, anything you want to say to the Valley before we sign off?
Yes. Let's get it, everybody. I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to be in this seat. I thank everybody for playing a role. The one guy we haven't talked about yet is my partner, Tim Kempton. Props to TK for being back for year 22, I think it is.
Wow.
So he's on his run, and thanks to him for all his support. Thanks to everybody. And let's just have fun with this basketball team. It's going to be hard not to.
Love you, Johnny.
Love you guys.
Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. Wolf's going to make you drive him home so he can listen to In Bloom again.